Hello, students. I hope you must have watched the videos which have been uploaded by me. 4 videos have so far been uploaded by me, and these videos are on Pygmalion, a text which is prescribed in your course. In those videos, I have discussed some important characteristics which are found in the plays of George Bernard Shaw. I have discussed the text Pygmalion, the development of the ideas in the play, the myth of Pygmalion, and the other related issues. Now, I told you if you have seen those videos, then I think you'll be knowing that Pygmalion is a mythological figure, and G.B. Shaw has taken the idea of this play from that myth which has been discussed by Ovid in his narrative poem Metamorphosis. Now, the important themes which are discussed by G.B. Shaw in the play Pygmalion are going to be discussed by me in this video. The subtitle of this play Pygmalion is Pygmalion, a romance in 5 acts. Now, in what sense the dramatist has used the word romance that I am going to tell you in this video while discussing the important themes of the play. Now, some striking themes which the dramatist has taken up in this play are language, speech, communication, social class, social distinction, identity, appearance, feminism, and some other themes related to these themes. Now, the important theme which is there in the play is language and communication, language and speech. If you just read this play, then you find out that Higgins announces in just the beginning of this play that poverty goes hand in hand with substandard speech. That is, if the speech is substandard, then you are poor. The poverty is synonymous with substandard speech. He implies that the poor, like Elijah, are substandard human beings who need to be raised to the level of human status. And if you just read the play thoroughly, then you find out that in Act 1, he says that the sound which you are making are like a bilious pigeon. He calls Eliza a squashed cabbage leaf and a gutter snipe. Now, all these points are very much related to the language part. When Eliza gets angry, Higgins compares her to a cat with claws. He calls her there is a reference in Act 4, he calls her a presumptuous insect. Everything about Liza's origin is referred to as dirty. Her clothes have to be burned, and the hat has to be put in the oven to kill the lice. Her father is a dustman, and Liza's room in the slums is hardly a human habitation. So these are the points actually which we find in the play. What is the basic point related to the language, speech, and communication which Shaw has discussed in the play? His play actually explores aspects of language in a variety of ways. Now, Higgins and Pickering, the two important characters of the play, they study linguistics and phonetics, taking note of how people from different backgrounds speak differently. The play is quite interesting because person's speech is very much related to the identity of that particular person. We see in the beginning of the play that Higgins can easily guess where people are from based on their accent, based on their dialect, and the use of the particular slang. Now, after all, Elijah's way of speaking transforms over the course of the play. Elijah is able to change her identity simply by learning to talk differently. In a particular, Pygmalion continually displays the connection between language and social class. And that is why I told you that social class, social distinction, social status is also one of the important themes because language is very much related to the class. Uh, when we read the play, we find that how, we see that people from different social strata speaking in vastly different dialects. Upper class characters in the play lay claim that they speak the proper English, the correct English, uh, and you see Higgins, for example, shames Eliza for speaking a poor version of the language of the great writers like Shakespeare and Milton. You find here the reference of all these things. So language plays a very important role here in this play. Language, speech, communication, language, which is very much related to the social status. We find that the wealthier social classes simply claim that theirs is the right way to speak. Eliza, Pickering, and Higgins are, after all, they are using the language for their advantages. So the next important theme which we have is the theme which is very much related to identity, reality, appearance. I mean, so these points we find very much here in this play. In Pygmalion, we find how social identity is formed not only through patterns of speech, but also through general appearance. I have just discussed that language, speech, play a very important role for showing yourself that you belong to an elite class. So much like speech, one's physical appearance signals social class. That is very much there in this play. In the opening scene, as people from different walks of life are forced to take shelter under the same portico, characters' social class is very much visible through their attire, through their dress. The poor flower girl, who is later on revealed to be Elijah, and the gentlemen, for example, easily know each other's status through their different attire, different dress. So this is very much there here in this play. Now we find that there are so many references in the play that Elijah tells Higgins and Pickering in Act 5 that she believed that she had entirely forgotten her original way of speaking and behaving. She thinks that she has really transformed and cannot return to her old life. Now look at appearance, reality, identity, and all that. Higgins, on the other hand, is skeptical of this. He is confident that Elijah will relapse into her old ways. So, the play raises, and we do not get the exact answer of that, a number of questions about the stability of the identity that has really has Elijah really changed, or can she not escape the identity she was born into? Has she become noble, or she's naturally lower class? There's so many issues which Shaw has raised in this play. So and they are very much related to the identity. So this is one major point which the dramatist has dealt in this play. Now Next theme, which is very much visible in the play, is social class, social distinction, social status, and social manners. Now, I discussed in my introductory lecture that G.B. Shaw is a socialist playwright. So, obviously, we'll expect this theme prominently be dealt in his plays. Now, social hierarchy was the reality of Britain actually, and we find that in this play we have all characters belonging to the different classes. From the lower class, from the upper class. From the lowest class, we have the character of Lisa. Servant class, we have Mrs. Piercy. Middle class, we have Doolittle. Genteel poor, we have Winesford Hills. Upper class, we have Pickering and Higgins. So, all the classes are dealt because Shaw wanted to depict all classes, and he wanted to relate literature with society, because I told you in the beginning that G.B. Shaw once said that for art's sake alone I would not face the toil of writing even a single sentence. And I told you, I've just told you that the issue of language is tied up in class quite closely. The fact that Higgins is able to identify where people were born by their accents is very much remarkable. So, this theme, social class and manners, social distinction, social status, is very much there in this play. Now, next important theme which we have here in this play is myths of creation. Now, Pygmalion, I gave you the reference in the beginning that Pygmalion is a mythological, figure. How has G.B. Shaw used that character here in this, play? How Pygmalion, a sculptor, is, compared with Professor Higgins, who is a professor of linguistics. Now, all these points I have already discussed you, that Pygmalion created a sculpture of a perfect woman and fell in love with it. After he prayed Aphrodite, it was brought to life, and this statue was named as Galatea, white like milk, and this Galatea is represented in Shaw's plays as Elijah. Unlike the myth, now this is the point which you will notice here. Unlike the myth, Shaw's play does not end in a marriage between the pair, because you'll find out in the myth that the marriage takes place. Shaw's play does not end in a marriage between the pair, and Lisa is infuriated with Higgins's suggestion that her success is his success, and that he has made her what she is. Now, here you find difference, and here you have myth of creation. She has worked to recreate her identity as well. Now, this is actually the recreation of the identity. So that is a theme which is very much there in the play. Now, again, the next important theme which we have is the gender solidarity. How persons of the same gender are favoring each other. That is very much there in this play. Now, Shaw makes a point that gender loyalties are very much there in the play. Now, although there are certain examples which I would like to give you to show that how gender loyalties are there, gender solidarity is there in the play. Although Mrs. Higgins initially is horrified by the idea that her son might bring a flower into her home, she quickly grows sympathetic to Lisa. But as a woman, she was expressing, her loyalty. And similarly, we have a kind of hatred or antagonism from the different, gender. You see, we have Higgins and his mother have a troubled relationship. This is one example of antagonism. And the professor and Mrs. Pierce also have the same kind of relationship. So this theme is actually the theme of gender solidarity, gender loyalty, as we have here in this play. Now, the next theme which we have here is transformation. Now, you can recall my opening lecture where I told you that the source is metamorphosis by Ovid, and metamorphosis means transformation. So, transformation is again an important theme here in this play. Uh, I've just told you in the opening part of my lecture that the subtitle of Pygmalion is a romance in 5 acts. Now, remember medieval chivalric romance. Now, if you remember medieval chivalric romance, you will have a picture before you that you have knights on adventurous quests, and frequently, the main character is transformed or raised in some way to aristocratic status. You find that the main character belongs to a very high class. A servant is suddenly discovered to be the long lost son of a duke. A romance also concerns with romantic love. Shaw, however, says he calls Pygmalion romance because it concerns transformation. Actually, the word romance is not related to the romantic love, as he explains. Though Shaw is considered a realistic playwright, he uses this idea of romance and transformation in modern sense to show that society is not cut in stone. A flower girl can become a duchess in modern society, as in fairy tales, without the use of the supernatural agencies. Science is called on as the transformative power, and here in this play, in this case, science is also playing the role of the transformative power, and here we have phonetics, that is the science of speech. So we have all these major themes which are found here in this play. So you can expand your ideas with the help of these issues. Like you can expand the idea on feminism also. You can also try to sort out some other themes which you can derive from these major themes which I have discussed so far. So this much for today in this video. Now one more video which I would like to create regarding some important symbols and some important lines which are there in this play, so that I will do in my next video. Thank you very much.